President Donald Trump is once again defending his tariff policy, which he says has made the United States the richest and most respected country in the world. In a Truth Social post on Sunday, the president claimed that every American, except those in the high-income bracket, will soon receive at least $2,000 from tariff revenues collected by his administration. The president also dismissed critics of his trade policy, calling them fools, and said tariffs have triggered record investment and new manufacturing across the nation. He also attempted to justify his actions that upset the global trade balance, questioning the scope of presidential powers.
People that are against tariffs are fools. We are now the richest, most respected country in the world, with almost no inflation and a record stock market price. So let's get this straight. The President of the United States is allowed to stop all trade with a foreign country and license a foreign country, but is not allowed to put a simple tariff on a foreign country, even for the purpose of national security.
These comments come just days after the U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments that could determine the legality of President Trump's sweeping tariffs. In his post on Truth Social, President Trump wrote that record investment is now flowing into the U.S., with plants and factories going up all over the place. He also said that the proposed $2,000 dividend, which would exclude the wealthiest Americans, would soon be distributed to every eligible person. However, the president didn't clarify what income threshold would define high income, nor did he provide any details on how or when such payments would in fact be made. For such a plan to take effect, congressional approval would likely be required. In fact, earlier this year, Republican Senator Josh Hawley introduced a similar proposal for $600 in tariff rebates for most Americans and their dependent children, but it didn't advance in the Senate. President Trump's new figure is far higher and would represent a significant financial commitment from tariff revenues that are currently estimated to bring in between $300 and $400 billion annually. Now, what makes this announcement particularly notable is its timing. The president's promise of a tariff dividend came just days after his own administration argued before the Supreme Court that tariffs are not intended to raise revenue. In that case, government lawyers maintained that tariffs serve to rebalance trade rather than generate funds. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, speaking on ABC's This Week, also reinforced that message, saying tariffs are meant to restore American competitiveness, with any revenue eventually replaced by higher domestic tax income as manufacturing jobs return to the United States. However, he noted that certain tax provisions already enacted under Donald Trump's broader tax and spending bill could serve as potential sources for such a payment.
The $2,000 dividend could come in lots of forms, in lots of ways. You know, it could be just the tax decreases that we are seeing on the president's agenda. So those are substantial deductions that are being financed in the tax bill.
Now, according to the Congressional Budget Office, tariffs could generate as much as $3.3 trillion in revenue over the next decade if current policies continue. This is also the first time the president has clearly specified an amount of what he calls a tariff dividend after months of vague promises ranging between $1,000 and $2,000. But with the Supreme Court now questioning whether his use of tariffs is even constitutional, it remains to be seen whether his latest pledge is a sign of policy innovation or a political gamble designed to rally public support.
Want the facts?
The latest developments?
News that gets straight to the point.
Well, we've got all three just for you. This is Firstpost Live, a brand new show, your window into what really matters.
Don't miss it.